everybody? G-Force41 here with another PGA Tour 2K25 Quick Tips Golf Course Playthrough. This is Quick Tips 23, and we are at EraserGib's new course. So yes, if you're following the saga along, I help out our colleague EraserGib, who is a fellow administrator of Casuals Golf Club, with his golf course design aspirations. And I worked on a course with him that was a links course in a couple of quick tips videos ago. And now he's got a newer one. He's kind of put that one on the side and he's tried something new. So here it is. And it looks, I got to say, pretty darn good off the tee. Look at this. So first, let me also say Happy New Year. And second, let me let you know the whole family's here. So there might be some background noise. And we might actually be joined by Enforce 2 again. So he's right behind me watching along. He might chime in. So let's take a look at what he's got going here. This looks pretty darn cool. It's a very good visual off the tee. This is one of the new themes. I forget the name of it. I think it's like Fjord something or other. And so it's a pretty cool theme. I haven't tried it, but I like the looks of it. It's got some great background and it gives you that little town off in the distance. So it's something off in the distance that, you know, you don't have to use meter and put in there. So those mounds look a little big, I might say. So if you're going to put mounds like that in, you might want to have a wider fairway. I like this. Look at the splining. Look how much better he's gotten at the splining. Hat tip EraserGib. That spline looks really good. Really good. We'll check out the green in a second. But I think that hill might be too big for the fairway that's there. So I would, oh boy, I pulled it right in. So that's what you want to do on your first tee shot. Pull one into the water. So as designer, do you want people getting frustrated on the first tee shot? Maybe. That was a bad move. Nothing wrong with it, but sometimes people get ticked off. All right, so I couldn't hit the mounds. Those might be a little big. So when you put mounds like that in, you want to make sure you have enough fairway. You've got to really just test that over and over and see what happens when you hit them. But I look at the green. Now, first of all, the green's fine, right? The slope seems, it's natural. It's going to the water as you would expect. And it's fairly flat, not too flat. And it's got just a little section back there. Whoops, it's on, let me go to approach. There you go, regular approach. He's got a little section back in here, right? Because you can put a pin here and it might roll off there. And you can put a pin kind of up here in the corner, front corner. But I like this. It's kind of a plateau kind of green. So that's showing a little bit more maturity in the sculpting than you see from the newer designers and than we saw in the early episodes of Quick Tips when EraserGib was learning to design, right? Everything with the newer designers is flat. It's just boring, dull, whatever. So this looks very natural. It's a nice little plateau, and I like it. So far, this is much better than the original works. Let me go with this right here. So it looks pretty good visually. Good splining into the green. We'll take a peek at that later. I like the textures. I don't know if these are the defaults on this new theme or not. And the greens are running at 152. Fine. Very reasonable. Nothing's too firm. We've been talking a lot about in the casuals, Ivy Mike and EraserGib and I. Too many very firm courses, very firm greens, very firm fairways. That's okay occasionally, but it seems to be everybody is on this firm bandwagon. So I think the green might be firm, but the fairways are normal. You know, I like my greens about 170. We're going to push it up to 180 on casuals, golf club. See, look at this, BT. Now you get that nice little town behind there. And you say, well, how do you build that town? You don't. This is in the new theme. So that's a big help to designers because you'd have to use meter to put a town in and it's time consuming. All right, so we're on to a par 3 on the second hole. And again, we talked about showing your work. And then, of course, Architect Mays on 2 of his par 3s had blind tee shots in the last video. But this is good. I like this. It's a little bit of a kind of infinity green going on. I mean, there's a background behind it, but it's kind of a little plateau. It's only up 4 yards, 4 feet, I should say. Actually, let's see. Yeah, 4 feet. But it's enough that it's just creates a nice visual. I would just say sculpt that bunker in front. I like this kind of big hazard idea of a bunker, but just flatten. It looks a little crooked. So I think you can sculpt around that and make it a little bit more uniform and look pretty cool. Because now you look at it, it's just kind of crooked. Looks just a little odd. It's not that off, but I just think a little sculpting there would help. And you can see that bunker a little. You could lower that front a little and raise the back a little just to show off that bunker a hair. But now what we're talking about is the minutia with the EraserGib, right? Not the big stuff. So little teeny things. I like that. I like the fall off there. This green looks a little bit more sloped than the first one. That whole location's fine. So I don't know where the other hole locations are, but there's a big slope right there. But the rest of the green is fine. So I guess you can use that. Let's see if we can use it with this little wind here. Of course, my swing is way off.
How did they like make the trees in like the background? Did they just make it like by not those, like not the mountains, like
the trees in the background?
Not the background, like
so
over there and stuff.
Yeah, you plant those. So we have a question from Nforce2. How do you make the trees on the course? You plant them one by one. You can also copy and paste them, okay? But you copy and paste them, they go to their default size. So you got to be careful with it. I know that doesn't mean a ton to you. To other designers out there, you've got to be careful of the tree line and how it looks. And copy and paste is fine, except it defaults to default size. So if you make your tree lines look natural, like somebody put in their video, that would be me. You copy and paste, you kind of got to resize them all. Or you don't have to, but if you want to make it look good, you should. All right, so now we're kind of a little flat. And okay, so we've got an elevated green. So again, the splining of the fairways is much better. This is a pretty plain hole. And there's not a whole lot of strategy other than just this kind of thing jutting out here. So I would say have a reason for that. Put a bunker in there or extend this out here and lower that a little. You can even maybe raise this section of the fairway a little and kind of have that as a little valley. Add a little strategery here. I think the strategery is if the now this is medium and east is the winds we're playing the back tees, and it's hole location 1. I would think the wind behind your back, you might run out of room there, so that's fine. That could be some of the strategy of the hole. You might run out of room. You might have to go with the 3 wood. Absolutely fine. The wind's going to make it play a little different. This way you have a whole lot of room. You don't have to worry about that. And now you've got a blind shot here. So I think, ideally you want to be off to the right over that little elbow that we saw. So good. We got some strategy going here. I would say there's a little bit more planting needed. I don't know where he is on his process here. You're going to have to put some grasses in along with the bushes and do something with that hill. It is tedious and time consuming, but it's going to make the course pop for sure. But again, I like the elevation change. Just 15 feet. Look what a difference 15 feet makes. Okay, and that's pretty tall. 15 feet's a lot, right? Think of a basketball hoop as 10 feet. So it's a basketball hoop and a half. 15 feet's a decent hill to be hitting up and be walking up. So you don't have to be crazy with the elevation changes, but you do want some contours in your course. And a lot of the newer designers just don't have them. It's just flat, 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 flat. Or then they get fancy and they add like a 60 or 70 foot hill out of nowhere, right? So, all right. Green's rolling pretty smooth. Again, I just like these textures. So I like the overall feel of this. So the overall take so far is it looks pretty good. It needs more planting for sure. I like the little hazard in front. It takes up some visual space. But again, smooth everything. You can work on the sculpting. Again, this is minutia right in front of the tee box. It's a little lumpy. Try to put an arrow there. These are the things you need to just smooth out. You could play around with that water, make it a little bigger, and make the planting make it look really cool. But pretty good. So now we've got a great hazard here, and that's right in the drive zone. So you've got a decision. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this, I guess. Other than when I have a hazard like that, I don't like it to be a bunker because that's man-made. I like to be natural. So what you can do here is maybe lower the fairway, the first fairway a little, and then raise that second fairway and then have it be kind of a marshy area like this stuff. I did that on the 18th hole of Hessian Hollows. But, you know, that's just a big, huge, great bunker, great hazard kind of hole. There's nothing wrong with it. From the front tees and wind behind your back, I'd assume you could drive over it. But when I have those cross kind of fairway things, I tend to like it to be a stream, a river, a brook, rocks, something like that. That's a little more natural. Okay, and they're coming up in, this is a par 5. You got a narrow neck here. There's not a whole lot of decision on the layup if that's what you need to do. So it's, yeah, I didn't realize it was a par 5 before I teed off. So I would steer clear of those great hazard things that takes driver out of your hands on a par 5. A lot of people don't like that because you want that second shot in. But when you take driver out of your hand on a par 5, some people do not like that. I don't care. That's golf to me, but some people don't like it. You might want to add some bunkers over here or here. And the other thing you can do is, now we're kind of flat here. If you just elevated that green a smidge or lowered it so you could bounce one in there, that would add to it a little bit. Not much, but if you kind of made it almost, I don't want to say punch bowl, I'm exaggerating, but have it go down so you can roll that ball down, or up so it's elevated a little bit. Decisions. Again, we're getting into the minutia now, not big oopsies that we see on many chip shots. I did it again. Quick tips videos and EraserGib's first couple of courses. Get in there. And yes, chip shots, I did it again. Chip shots is my short form question segment of my podcast. So I'll give the shameless plug now for my podcast. Your Customer Success is available on all major podcast platforms and YouTube. So it's a separate channel from this, but look below. You will see links to all my podcasts down there. So please, I need subscribers on that channel big time. Like I say, you golfers must feed and pay for your golf habits somehow, so you must work. So, or maybe you're retired, but you could gain a lot from that podcast as well. It is legit. I have great guests, and again, I totally goofed. And I said it. I think one time I called Chip Shots Quick Tips on the podcast. I had to edit that out. Okay, so we got a little principal nose going on. I see an L shape. I'm thinking double plateau. And it is indeed a double plateau. And oh, those so improved. We'll take a closer look at the green as we get there. Double plateaus, in case you're wondering, are par 4. It's a template hole. And you have 2 sections of green, which we'll talk about in a principal nose bunker. They're usually long 4s and one of the tougher holes on the course. So we've talked a number of times about double plateaus, and his greens have been close but no cigar. The principal nose is usually about 60 yards out from the green, so that might be a little close. I can't measure. It's about 80. Because the goal isn't really for that to be in play. You could. I mean, if you wanted it in play, then fine, leave it there. But that's basically the double plateau. He's got it really good. It's L-shaped with 2 larger sections, and that kind of corner is usually the lower section, the corner of the L. And that's kind of hard to describe, but he's got that going very good. So this is really good. So obviously, you're going to have a pin here, a pin or 2 here, and, 1 down here. And everything kind of goes this way. That's pretty well done. And bunkers surrounding it, really nice. Much improved if you've been watching our videos and series of videos. People get this green wrong all the time. And there's no one way to do it, but they just overdo it, and they overdo the plateaus, and it becomes a mess. And it's hard. I've done only a few. My first one wasn't that great. Just like that putt, not that great. All right. A good one. So yeah, go to the templates, folks. If you're a new designer and you just need ideas for holes on your course, think templates. And you can riff off them. They don't have to be exact. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a long 4. Those principal nose bunkers can be in play if you want them to be. Different strokes for different folks. So this is an interesting one. Again, good use of elevation and land movement here. I like this because this looks very natural and organic. That he just fit a hole into the terrain here. There's a hill, another hill, and you snuggled a green site up there. That's a really nice place for a green site. So this is really good stuff. Now, you're at a room, which is fine. It's a shortest 4. So wind in your face, you're going to be able to hit driver here. Let's look at the green. Got some shadows there. I like shadows touching the green, but again, I like it just kind of touching the green. So you might want to adjust those trees, designers, so they're not really putting the green in the dark. But, so which way do you want to go at this hole from? That's kind of pinned. That's up front right. I think you can go either way here. And I got the wind at my back. Let's see what happens if we go up here. We might have to go with a 5 wood. Just for fun, we're going up there. Second fairway. Oh, and I went off to the side. That's a pretty good section. What are we losing here? About 5 to 10%. Should be fine with the wind. Right, so like I said, vary your elevation changes, your scenery, your hole location, your green locations. But so far, so good. All right. Now,
Which hole are you on?
we are on hole 7. We got a question from N-Force 2? No question, buddy? Okay.
Yeah, I just said what hole you're on.
You just want to know what hole we're on. All right, so this is an simple but effective. It's kind of funny. It looks like another tee box up there. So I would say minutia here. I would just lower that red tee box a little bit or move it to the side. Ivy Mike's advice, EraserGib. Use different angles for different tee boxes, right? You don't have to have one from the other. Now you've got a hole over there. You could put that off to the left or the right, either way, but come in at a different angle from what you got. It's a little Biarritzy. Well, that's interesting. So it's a 200-yard hole, a little Biarritzy. I don't know if it'll work to that back pin, but interesting stuff. Biarritzes are not usually that circular. They're a little bit more rectangular, longer than that. So I don't know if that'll work, but I would just test that out. And yeah, because the view would be much better without that tee box in your way there. And then you could plant in front of that green. And this could be a visually stunning hole with that background, right? So this could be a real stunner if a little TLC was given to it. Maybe some bunkers around it. But again, potential. All right, not bad. A little drink of tea. It's about 20 degrees out. It has been goddamn cold around here in New England. And you say, of course, it's January. What do you expect? Well, yeah, but December was really cold for December. You know, December, you're usually around 35, 40 degrees. It was like 20 and windy and whatever. All right, so this one's a bender. A wicked, as he said, talking about knowing it's a wicked bender. Of course, a wicked bender means something else if you go out on a wicked bender. I think that might be too much right there. I don't know what's going on there. If you're going to hold or you're going to bounce away. We'll see when we hit it. Let's look at the green. Oh, it's a little slopey. Again, it's hard to tell. I think the whole location's okay, but there's a lot of shadow on that green. So let's see what happens. I cut it, and it's going to hit the hill. So we're going to get a good feel for whether this hill works or not. Is there enough room? There's enough room. Okay. You just don't want it to be ridiculous because people, I hit the fairway. Shouldn't roll off the fairway. Yeah, it depends. But yeah, that's okay. That whole location's okay. Again, I would move the tree. Look, you can have, to me, I try to have the shadows in the green, but not over the whole location. And there you see, the whole location's peeking through in the sunlight. That's fine. But I try to have it a little bit more off to the side and have like absolutely no branches around it if I can. If the visual is more important of the trees for whatever reason, then fine. Again, that's taste and personal preference. I know some people that just hate the shadows, and some people like me just don't mind them. I think they add to the ambiance. So like I said, I like it when they're just touching the green a little bit. All right, so look at the town. That looks nice. It's a good ad. Good job, 2K Sports and Team HB Studios. All right, so I like this. It's a little centerline bunker. You got a hero carry here, right? So you got a heroic carry. I'd make this small. I don't know that you need the centerline bunker if you got a heroic carry here and a bunker over there. So I don't know. That may be a little bit too much. If not, I would cut that in half, to be honest with you. But and you can't see this bunker, so try to show off this bunker a little bit, or make that bigger, make it kind of come up here so you can see it and get rid of that hill. So those are the visuals you got to play with when you're testing your course. You should come up with those things yourself. Play test it, look for these things, right? This is the other reason I do this, to help you. This is what I do with my own courses when I play test them. Can I see the bunker? Can I make it more visually appealing? Can I lower something so you can see it better? Is that bunker too big? Is there enough room on the fairway? I mean, all these things I go through while I'm designing it, but when I'm play testing it. Again, make the, excuse me, sorry about that little sneeze. You can make that fit that curve a little better, right? Sliding in that curve would be pretty cool. Now, again, these things are pretty nasty if you're in them, which is the way they're supposed to be. You kind of have to go out sideways. But look, I think the natural landscape is coming in pretty good. And so there's some contours on the fairways and into the greens, and not bad at all. All right, interesting shape green. You got to change those up. Keep it moving. Keep them varied, almost like a pitcher in baseball, right? Can't throw the same pitch. Can't have the same green shape all the time. So I think he's mixing things up there very, very, very well. All right. So there you see you got a tee box off to the side, like we talked about a couple of holes ago. Now you got this guy jutting onto the fairway. You got to be careful of this stuff. I don't know if, I'm not a huge fan of that. Kind of just have the fairway go around it, if you ask me. I don't know why all of a sudden we have them jutting out into the fairway. If they're on the side, I would have the fairway work around them, and then you can use rough and planting and everything like that. But you've got bunkers up there, another kind of principal nosy thing going on. Some bunkers up there. All right. Not bad. And you got some hills in here. I don't know what type of course this is supposed to be. It's not really a links course because I don't think it's a Scottish links. It's kind of Fjordland or whatever this new theme is. But we've got the linksy thing going on with the pot bunkers. So you can add a little bit more undulations on these fairways, just kind of small ones. But again, I would, fit the bunker in the curves. Up here is a place for that bunker that fits into that curve. You might want to move a bunker out here, kind of a la Donald Ross. I can't get it out there. Have it front the green a little bit for the optical illusion, and then have, one fit into that back corner there. Coming back, very nice. Because the greens are casuals friendly, as you would expect from EraserGib. Casuals Golf Club, we prefer what we call casuals friendly if you're new to the channel. That just means not too hard, basically. Enjoy your round, enjoy the golf, and not crazy sloped greens and things like that. But All right, so now we've got, now I like, you could have a little bit of a blind shot. I think this is on purpose, and that's fine. I would smooth that a little. That needs a little sculpting, but that shouldn't take too long. Smooth that down, make it look a little more natural. But now you've got like a great hazard blocking the way again. So you've already had one of these. I don't know that you want to go to that well too often. And again, I like this. Just to me, you don't need the bunker. You just need planting and rocks and kind of waste area stuff like this. That could do it. And just again, raise that second fairway a little bit, and then you kind of have a natural depression. That's the reason for the break. I'm going to choke tee shot this one, because that makes it a little more natural and looks less forced. Especially if you're gonna have more than one of them. Can you have more than one? Sure. Do some people say that's repetitive? Maybe. Is this the World Cup of Design we're going for? No. No offense to our friends on TGC Tours. They do a fine job, but not everything has to be a World Cup of Design course. I like the green. So this has got a couple of sections. It's not quite tiered, but it's a little bit tiered. But that's fine as long as the pins are on those levels. Looks like there's 2 levels. You can have a pin on 2 pins on each. It's fine. Might put a bunker right about there, just in that little curve. Might be a good spot for a single bunker. And you don't have to make all those bunkers super deep, because that pot bunker wall will wreak havoc on you. They're too deep. If you want that to happen, that's fine. All right, short 3. Again, you've got, oh, that is pretty small. So this is almost postage stampy. So it's a short, it's a small screen. You can make that green a little bit more interesting on a short, right? It could move a little bit more, have a little bit more slope, but you got to be careful because you don't have much room to work with if you're going to do a small green. So you got to make, choose wisely. I've always found the small greens more challenging because you don't have a lot of pinnable area if you're going to make them slopey. So the bunkers are a little far away, I would say, on a short hole. You might want them hugging a little bit more. The other thing I could say to do here is just take that spline, copy it, and shift it diagonally would make this more interesting. Go 45 degrees one way or the other. In other words, I'll put a graphic up, go this way or go that way with it. And then you can stick the bunkers in there. Make it a little more interesting. Visually, this is potential, right? Because you've got the nice background, the town off to the right, and you could work on those hills a little bit. So, again, could be a pretty course. It's on its way. Looks pretty good already. Could be stunning. You don't have to be Architect Maze. We're featuring his courses 2 weeks in a row. He's become, if he's one of the premier designers, if not the premier designer right now. Architect Maze is amazing. Arctic Fury is, of course, amazing, but I haven't seen much from him in this game. So I wonder what he's up to. Okay, so we've got another par 4. We were on 13. And this one's kind of a blah look off the tee. Now, you could have this up. I do like this kind of blind shot where you go up and around the fairway. Which way is this going, though? You got a hill there. Yeah, I kind of like it. I think you could work on the visual here just a little bit. Maybe lower that right side a little. And really kind of give it that look. Because, you got the hills off to the left there. And, of course, I'm pointing like you can see me point. But, again, this is why I use the graphics. And kind of keep it going left to right. And, add some grasses and things like that. So not bad. You can give some more room here. You don't have the fairway jut out that much. Hug that a little bit closer. Cool stuff. And then, of course, you're going to run out of room. So there is a little strategery here with the wind at your back, especially. But you can carry this. So you got a few options. And the wind will change things. I'd work on that bunker off to the right. That kind of just looks like a shape plugged in there. All right. So show off these bunkers a little bit more, folks, right? When you're designing, show off your work. That one on the right's pretty good. The one on the left, I think you could just lower the ground in front of you a little and raise around it, right? And so we always want to sculpt around the bunkers. These look pretty flat. Looks like you just plunked a shape in there. And again, the shape is going to give you that kind of band of rough around it. If you want that band, fine. And if not, is that heavy rough or light rough? I go with light. That looks like heavy rough to me. I would go with light rough. And I think when you do the shapes, you're going to get a band of rough. And forgive me for not knowing off the top of the head. I think it's heavy rough, but what I tend to do is not use the shapes. I use the spline when it's in the fairway so I can control what's around the bunker. So just something else to consider. You do whatever you think looks best. Greens are very tame. So there is some greens that have have some good slopes, and some that are very tame. All right, another decent visual. You can see these bunkers off the tee. Again, this looks very shapy. You know, I just want to avoid it looking like you just plunked a shape down once. But strategically, that's fine. It's kind of an S fairway. That's fine. What do we got up here? Oh, you got a little slopes on the green. We'll take a look as we get closer. So I just work on the sculpting on those bunkers and the shapes a little bit. Again, when you design for as long as I've been doing it, you just see the shapes and you know somebody just kind of chucked the shape in there. I tend to scope out the site from the bunker, cut it with the brush, and then use spline or multiple shapes, kind of swirl them around a little bit. But all right, so I would say this looks pretty cool. I would say that needs to be flattened a little. And there's a lot of room over here. I don't know why. I think the band of fairway around it's pretty cool, but I don't know if you need that much. So you could tighten that up. Again, we're getting into details here, right? So we're talking fine details, not oopsies. So I like that. It's in the front section. You could probably use it as a backboard. There's a middle section, and then there's a back section. So that's fine. It's not too tier-like. It's not just blatant tiers. It's a little tier-like, but not over the top. Now we're going, it's 2 feet. Again, so now this is a blind shot. Do you want that or not? Make your decision. Otherwise, it's a flat shot, so you should be able to see this green, I would think. I mean, there's no particular reason for that hill there in the middle. I would lower it. There's no strategic reason, I don't think, because you're not going to reach it off the tee. And it's a par 4. So that's the kind of thing, unless you want that blind for some reason, lower that, right? Those are the visuals you got to, when you're testing, of course, say, all right, I can't see the green. Did I want to do that or not? I would say here, show off the green. Most cases, you're going to be able to see the green. Occasionally, you're not. But there's nothing there. And it's not a huge elevation change type of hole. Pretty good. Oh, just pushed it. So I don't play as much as I used to, folks, and my playing skills are not near what they used to be, which wasn't very good to begin with. So I'm more in this for the design stuff. Oh, well, this is interesting. Like I said, change things up. So we've got a series of bunkers here coming down the fairway. Oh, boy. Let me think about this one. Let's look at the green first before I hit those bunkers. Good. Elevated. Got 2 bunkers in front. You might only need 1 there. Interesting. And you can see them. Well, you can really see those bunkers up there. I don't know if this hole's based on anything, because I've seen holes like this. Might be too many bunkers. Maybe not. Maybe this is based on another hole. I'm thinking like, correct me if I'm wrong, my apologies, Kingsbarty. I would find a hole like this and try to mimic it. But again, you want to make that decision if you just want those shapes in the fairway and the heavy rough around them, or you want to use the spline and then make the whole thing around all these just a little bit of rough and make it almost like two separate fairways that meet. Well, they meet at the end, but that's your decision. You can go either way with it. But I like the idea here because it creates this kind of whoops strategery, right? Now the wind, we've got the wind, and we probably can get down there, but you got to kind of fit it in there. So strategically, I like this because you can very easily just go there or there, and I'm just going to do that. Or you can bomb one if you want. So I like the idea, the concept of this hole a lot. I just think it needs some work on the actual bunkering and the sculpting. But from an idea standpoint, it's great. As a matter of fact, I don't know that you need a bunker there at all, because the hill's enough of a challenge, if you ask me. Especially that hill off to the left. But if you want that visual of two bunkers of doom staring your face off the tee, keep them. If not, make life easy on yourself and get rid of them. But again, I would only need one. Think you need one there. Concentrating on the putts now. I want to make some putts. I was watching the one and only early 1981 playing, was it Fairhaven by Architect Maze, which will feature on Casuals next week, which I believe is week 5. And he was draining putts left and right, man. The legendary early. Still the first and still the best in my view, if you're out there early listening. The first guy I found doing playthroughs, it was when I joined, it was TGC2. And to me, still the best. And there's some other great playthrough guys out there, Jim Jam and Sandgroper apparently does these all day, every day. I mean, how does he? The volume. He's amazing. Always fun. Listen. Drivable 4. I would just say there's just not a whole lot of risk to this. Look at this coming back. So I would love to play this hole in real life because there's just not much doing there. So strategically, there's just not a lot of risk. A drivable 4, you do need some risk to that tee shot. Now you don't want to, as they say, trick it up and make it unnatural, but usually there's water, it's a big hill, things like that. All right, this is a par 3. 17th. I like that idea, that huge bunker there. Again, you can see it a little. So you gotta move the whole thing. It's a lot of work to just move the bunker. You might, moving the green, you've got all the slopes. I just think it's a little far away. It's not that bad. Maybe you leave it and you just kind of lower that a little bit, lower the hill in front of it, and then you can't see this one at all, right? So that would be imposing if you had that there as well. Again, it's a little far. I would just move, and we're talking a smidge, you know what I mean? And then have it kind of fit into that section a little bit. And again, if this was going up to the green along the side, kind of flat in a straight line like the side of the green, that would be cool too. But you'd have to redo the whole bunker. So again, I like the concept. The execution needs perhaps a little work, but again, not bad. And that would make a visually stunning hole because it's an uphill par 3, which are hard to pull off, but underutilized. So again, I like the ideas of these holes. There's not a single one I don't like. I think we got a little bit of repetition with the truncated fairway kind of thing, but you can make that work. Good green slopes there. All right, so we're going to see what 18 looks like. Did he pull off an 18th stunner? Oh, well, I like it. All right, so you got a big waist area there. Now, I think what you can do here, let's talk about this. Let's take a look at the rest of it. The green site. All right, you got that one bunker off to the side. Again, it's a little far away and just a circle. We'll talk about the green next, but I like the setting, and I like the idea. Now, what you can use here instead of this is just the bunker. You can use the new terrain painting to draw in the sand here, not the bunker tool. And that's where the new textures come in, right? There's the surface weathering and the terrain painting. I would use terrain painting here and make it a waste area. Look at other designers. I can't think of a course off the top of my head, but look at Architect Maze's courses and a whole bunch of the newer courses. Use that for these kind of waste area things instead of the bunker tool, because that's what we struggle with for years as designers. It just doesn't look quite right. And if you want that natural sand look like you get near the water, that's much better. And the sculpting is okay. You want that kind of visible, but you can obviously, it's kind of bumpy here. So it just looks weird with the bumpiness. So you got to work on the sculpting and make it flat, make it look natural, but use the new features. From a strategery standpoint, all right, you can't go there, right? Well, I could because the wind's kind of in my face. So you can go safe off here, or you can go down here. All right. A little bit of force carry. How much do you want to cut off? Not bad. I'll take that. Now, why does this go... The fence is a little up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. You can flatten that out a little. Okay, you can have it go a little. It doesn't be perfectly straight, but it looks a little kind of weird to me, and it doesn't take very long to do that. Now we're going to the green. Like I said, the bunker's a little far away, and meh. I would work on this green complex a little. The green is going in the appropriate direction towards the water. Again, you might want to just tilt that green a little bit more, on an angle. And then put a longer bunker along the side. That might work. And then more of a fall off back here. You can have that fall off a little, even though it is kind of going to the water. Because that just looks a little odd. I would kind of get rid of that hill in the middle. So a little bit of work here, but that's a fine finishing hole. And it's a little bit left to righty, right to lefty, so it's a little switchbacky. Which, if you know, I'm a Donald Ross aficionado, I like. You got the clubhouse back there. Now, I have no idea how you get to the clubhouse. Maybe it's by boat. Who the hell knows? For realism, you tend to want to have a way to get to the clubhouse. And if it's by boat, I've seen that before. So there have been courses in the PGA Tour 2K series. All right. Let's end with the bird. He focused on that putt and he just misses. But I'll take it. All right. So this was EraserGib's new one. It's EraserGib test 12.9.25 version 1. And I have got to say, a marked improvement, an amazing improvement. So he's come a long way as a designer, and maybe he's been listening to Quick Tips. But we have fun playing through his courses, so that's been Quick Tips 23. He's well on his way to getting a course out on Casuals Golf Club if he keeps this up. But there is a lot of work to be done on this course. So thank you for joining us today. If you want your course featured on Quick Tips, let me know. Drop me a line in the comments. Drop me a line on the design. We like to hear from you either way. Let us know what you think. Say goodbye, Enforce2.
Bye.
Enforce2 has been back and forth the whole video. But that's all for today. See you real soon. Bye for now.